Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this morning for our webinar on our newly released module, Living a Self-Determined Life. This is empowerment education. It's a statewide project for direct support professionals. We provide training, free training, I should add, on several different topics. They're non-traditional topics, so we don't do things like first aid and bloodborne pathogens. We do topics around improving quality of life for people with disabilities and increasing inclusive opportunities. Direct care workers are the backbone of the industry. Everyone knows this, the important role that direct care workers, family members, and support people play in the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's profound. Many people cannot function fully in the community without supports. And so today we're going to talk about how important being self-determined is in everyone's life, and especially in the lives of people with disabilities. We're very fortunate. We have a very experienced trainer with us today, Carolyn Gamachia, and she is also a parent to a young man, and she'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, as she proceeds through the training. Carolyn works with us at the Michigan Developmental Disabilities Institute on several projects. And like I said, she's a very experienced trainer. She's done these webinars in the past for us. So I think you're going to enjoy this webinar. We recently updated this module, and so you are going to be one of the first audiences to listen to the new presentation. So again, we're going to get started. It takes about an hour and a half to get through it. If you completed the pre-test and got that into us, you complete the post-test at the end, which we will send out to you, you are eligible to receive the 1.5 continuing education credits. If you don't do the pre and the post-test, you're not eligible to receive the 1.5 continuing education credits, but you will take away the knowledge. If you like what you hear and you want us to come out to your agency or organization or support group that you participate in, give us a call. Our website is wayne.ddi.edu. We've got all the information on empowerment education up there. You can also give us a call here. My name's Elizabeth. It's 313-577-6368. And just kind of leave me a message that you're interested in more empowerment education training. All right, thank you. And Carolyn, I'm going to let you get started.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. As Elizabeth said, I'm one of the empowerment enrichment trainers, and I've been doing that for quite a while. But this is one of my favorite modules to train on because it's so important to have a self-determined life, and it's so important to ensure that that path is open for this opportunity for individuals with disabilities and making these choices within the community. This PowerPoint and this presentation is very specific to the philosophy of what it is and also how to implement that in a very simple way. Obviously, decision making is a complex issue for all of us, but this module will actually give you a better idea of what self-determination is and why it's so important in the lives of the individuals that we're supporting daily within the community. The Living a Self-Determined Life training module was developed by Wayne State University's Developmental Disability Institute for direct support professionals who are seeking information and skills regarding self-determination and how it is applied to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. There will be time at the end of our webinar to answer questions, so if you could please put those in the chat box, we will address those after the webinar or after the PowerPoint is completed. We ask that because this module specifically it answers a lot of the questions that you might have regarding the topic. So as we go on, please put those questions within the chat box and then we'll address those afterward. Thank you. So we're going to start off by what your learning objectives are for today. By the end of this training, you should be able to, number one, know the individual budget tools. Two, be familiar with the 3 characteristics of what self-determination are. You should also be able to know and identify the 5 principles of self-determination and also be able to apply the idea of self-determination to your own life and support it within the lives of those around you. Right now, we're going to look at a video clip that's part of our Possibilities series here at the DDI, and it's one of many videos that are available. And I would encourage you to go to our website and watch some of these videos, utilize them as tools with the people that you support. They're very inspirational, and you'll find that they also help to explain some of the possibilities for individuals that we support daily. We're going to start with finding out about how a young man defines self-determination for himself and uses it as a helpful tool both within his lives and the lives of others.
I am Alex Gimmel, the self-determinator.
I don't think we were ever really looking for a cure, because Alex is Alex is Alex. But there certainly were some aspects of his life that sure seemed like if we could figure out how to make this thing easier, life would be easier.
He's someone who helps educate, inspire about the possibilities that people can have if given some opportunity to make some of those decisions.
When we're going to work, we go stop at the gas station. He usually has a water and some chips. From there on, it's about a 20-minute drive. That's usually the time that I like to spend with Alex just to catch up. How was your previous day? What activities were you up and about? How did everything go?
He arrives in the morning and he knows the tasks that he has to accomplish here. He is self-motivated and self-driven. He takes those tasks on all on his own, which primarily include running a powered sweeper through the warehouse to clean up dust and spills. He manages our damaged bags by scanning the UPC codes on those damages, and then we run them through our computer system to relieve inventory. It's a wonderful relationship.
People want to feel safe and they want to feel valued. Everything else kind of comes second.
And what he's hoping becomes his full-time gig is he owns a business called The Self-Determinator. And as The Self-Determinator, he gets hired by universities or different entities within community mental health to do presentations.
My career is dedicated to helping others know of the power of self-determination.
I could be spending the better part of a day training, and Alex will walk in and spend 20 minutes doing his presentation, and the impact is more significant because of, just who Alex is and what he's presenting and the message he's sharing.
Alex takes his person-centered planning quite seriously, and he put some very specific goals in his person-centered plan. But Alex said, hey, I want to be physically fit. So boom, there comes at this point, it's Anytime Fitness and softball and bocce ball, walking buddy twice a day. Another goal in his person-centered plan was, I want to have friends. I want to be interacting with people. So I guess the drive is from him. It's what he put into his person-centered plan, and then that gives us our marching orders of, okay, this is what we need to be working on.
Well, Alex came into the choir this year, and he really has a very nice voice, and he contributes quite a bit to the men's section in the choir. He works hard at rehearsals. In fact, you can see it on his face. And when there's a good part that he really likes, well, he really likes it.
He's also in the Clarkston Community Band. He plays clarinet. We've been doing that on and off since 2011, I think.
He's busy, he's doing so much. And I think what drives him is based on his desire to help get this message out.
I remember him telling me that he believes that he is blessed to be called a person with autism because he thought that there were those in the autism community who needed to hear what he had to say.
My purpose is to build safe, loving relationships where all feel valued.
He's got it. He understands what it is that we all need, and he's trying to help others understand it.
It's just life. And I think one of the gifts of Alex has been our whole life slowed down, and I think it's benefited the entire family. We slow down and we celebrate things.
We joke around sometimes saying the slower you go, the quicker you get there. And that's what Alex is referring to. If you slow down, the quicker you'll be able to understand where it is that I'm coming from, and therefore you'll be able to support me. Don't put limits on your dreams or the dreams of others. Don't put limits on your potential or the potential of others. that's what we can learn from Alex.
It's one of my favorite videos. I love that video because we know Alex and he's an amazing young man. So what is self-determination? Now that Alex has given us a phenomenal introduction to self-determination, we can begin to discuss its definition. Self-determination is designed as a process that assists a person in designing, exercising control over their own life, and directs a fixed amount of dollars that will be spent on authorized supports and services, often referred to as the individual budget. Self-determination revolves around the idea that the individual is able to set the standards for what is important to them. The individual budget. A person's budget could be used to do the following: find and receive support that they need to lead a meaningful life, purchase their services, choose their living arrangements, where and with whom they want to live, get connected with their community, and contract with service providers, as opposed to having an agency or relative do that for them. For an example, an individual decides what kind of service they want to use, peer support, respite care, personal care that meets their needs. The individual chooses their desired service provider as an agency or company providing the assistance. They do have any cultural considerations such as religion, language, etc. Those two would be considered. As you saw in the video, some of the things that Alex chose were to participate within his natural circle of supports with his family, also join a choir. His physical fitness was important to him, so having a gym membership and then doing things within the community were some of the choices and excellent examples that Alex uses on a daily basis. Parts of the individual budget tool are also choosing who to assist you in making those supported decisions. One of those choices would be independent supports broker. An independent supports broker is a contracted service provider assisting with a specific task. This person is usually from the individual circle of support. A conflict of interest could be that the independent supports coordinator shares a bank account with them. So that's something that would be a barrier for that independent supports coordinator to assist the person. This person is also assisting with developing, monitoring, and adjusting the budget as needed to make sure that the person doesn't go over or maintain under the budget set of funds. The person can also assist the individual with learning how to best utilize their budget. The other option would be a fiscal intermediary. A fiscal intermediary is a place where the individual budget is kept. It's almost separate from within that decision-making process the person's doing. It assures the laws are being met. The individual can decide which fiscal intermediary they will be using. And also, again, the circle of support can always assist with this per the individual's request. Now we're going to discuss the purpose of the individual budget. One of the purposes is to build a meaningful, self-determined life. And that's usually done within the person-centered planning process and then determining what services and supports are going to be in the individual plan of service that is done on an annual basis for individuals. It's also done to gain greater independence and control over life decisions. Direct support professionals can help individuals understand and use these tools. They can also be part of that process within the person-centered plan and to help develop the individual plan of service. All members of a person's circle of support can help make this process work and be successful. Everyone's individual budget is going to be different, obviously, because each person's desires for their life are different. Each person's person-centered plan will be different, and their individual plan of service will be different according to what those choices are made by the individual. The next thing we're going to discuss is characteristics of self-determination. This is basically how a person will spend their time or money. Individuals can decide how much control they want over various aspects of their lives. If they would like assistance, they can choose who will be providing this assistance and what the parameters are for that type of assistance. What steps need to be taken in order for the individual to have their individual arrangement. These are some of the things too that as a person learns these skills within self-advocacy, it empowers the individual to actually learn and become involved in this process. They gain control over their lives. They gain control over their hopes, dreams, and wishes. And their goals then help to make those dreams become a reality within those choices. The next thing we're going to do is actually watch another video, and then we're going to have an activity after it. In order for you to truly practice and understand self-determination, we are going to first watch this brief clip from the A&E show Born This Way. Born This Way follows a group of individuals with Down syndrome as they navigate through life. So we're going to watch the clip, and then we're going to have a little exercise after the clip.
Hey, how are you? Good. So my sports teacher, her name is Maida. She's kind of beautiful. She is helping me out with my poetry. So can you tell me why you like writing poetry? My dreams is being a professional poet artist. A professional poet artist? Yeah, I feel like I'm open and just let my feelings go, get loose and get out. So our first writing exercise for this afternoon. So you're gonna finish this sentence as many times as you feel like you can, okay? If you knew me, you would know. If you knew me, you would know. Done. Done? Okay. So you wrote, if you knew me, you would know what is pain. So when you say, what is pain, what kind of pain are you talking about? Physical pain or emotional pain? Emotional pain. When someone treats you like nobody. Okay. Have you ever felt that way? Yes, a lot. If you knew me, you would know what I can do with my life. Yeah. What can you do with your life? Anything. And I put my mind to it. Whatever you put your mind to. What's one thing that you want to put your mind to? Writing poetry is one. Yes. If you knew me, you would know I can show the world who I'm becoming. Yes. Temperature rise. So I want you to think about that. I want you to paint a picture. Yeah? If you had to paint a picture with words about who Elena is, what would that picture look like? I'm honest. I'm caring. I'm fragile. You're fragile. Like a flower. What kind of flower? A sunflower. A sunflower. I break easily. I have an idea for a poem for you. The first line of your poem is, this is your starter line, this is your homework. Line? Yeah. I am fragile like a flower. Like a sunflower. Can you finish that poem for me? I am fragile like a sunflower. Like nobody knows how I am blooming. So high up. Like someone is pulling me out from the ground. Water me. Dry me. Feed me. Sing to me. Be a beautiful little sunflower in the sky of blues. Yeah, let me do it again. You know, I'm going to tell you something right now. So you have all this story. You have all this story. You have a lot. You have a lot more than just emotional pain. You have a lot of story.
Got a lot of stories to tell.
We got a lot of stories to tell. And you know where they're at? They're right here. They're like right underneath the surface.
Like an ocean.
Like an ocean. Yeah. Like an ocean, like the deep, deep, deep part of the ocean that nobody knows anything else about. Yeah. So if you want to be a good poet, if you want to be a good writer, you have to be willing to dive really, really, really deep down into that dark part of the ocean.
Yeah.
I want you to go another layer deeper.
All the way down.
All the way down. All the way down. Yeah.
So what we would usually do if I was training and you were in person and we were doing this activity would be we would break up into groups and you would make a list of the ways that Elena practiced self-determination within the session with her poetry teacher. In that group session, you would also decide and think about how the poetry teacher is supporting Elena and encouraging her independence, and then explain how and why she's doing that through self-determination. As you can see, her teacher is very supportive. They have an amazing relationship, and Elena is very comfortable with her. And so within that support and that natural circle of support from her teacher, she's encouraging her. She's telling her what she needs to do, to think about that. So I'm gonna stop for a couple of minutes, and if you wanna jot down in the comment section in the chat box, what are some of the things that you think her teacher is actually doing to support her dream of becoming a poet? Then we'll discuss those after at the end of the PowerPoint or the presentation. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. So if you could just put some of those comments within the chat box, that would be great.
Stop sharing. They could do it now, depending on how you want to do it. It's gonna take you a minute.
Do you know how to do it back? Actually, Elizabeth suggested we could actually stop the sharing piece and I can go into the chat box and see some of these and share some of the ideas. I want to see too, somebody had indicated that they're not hearing. Is everyone hearing okay? If you could just put in your chat box that you're hearing us all right. And then also just a reminder, if you can also mute yourself, it seems as though you are able to hear okay, so that's good. So if you can also just start putting a couple of things in regarding what you viewed and how poetry teacher was supporting Elena in that video. How she was helping her to be self-determined.
When you write your comments, we can see them up on the screen and then we could share them. And it looks like Jamie had something there, Carolyn, that she said.
Yes, Jamie indicated that her teacher is helping her express herself with the flower. She was expressing what she needs from the individuals around her. And she's also, Tina indicated that she's encouraging her, which is correct. And additionally, we're hearing that the sound is kind of going in and out, so we'll try to make sure that we're a little bit more directed within that. Clifton indicates, I love the fact that the teacher supported her and challenged her. She spoke to her with respect versus talking to her as though she has a learning disability. It was awesome. And I would encourage people, if you've not watched this show, it's a great show. We were lucky. We were actually in Orlando for the art conference, and they had some of the cast members, and we were able to meet them and talk with them. And our son hung out with some of them for a while. It's really a very positive show. It's not all, it shows some of the challenges that some of the adults have with accessing the community, and it's actually a very good learning tool to show some of the individuals that you might be supporting what real life is like, because they don't like sugarcoat it or anything. So some of the other suggestions were the teacher highlighted Elena's strengths and helped pull more from her. She was respectful and encouraging. And that's why we use this clip. It's a very good example of how your circles of support and people that know you can do that within supported decision making. Tori also indicates the teacher really allowed her to express how she felt about poetry and how it affected her lifestyle. because you could see that Elena, for her, this is a very important part of her life. It helps her to express herself, and also is something that she feels deeply about. And Elena says the teacher is very genuine and not condescending. And that's so important within natural supports, because that if you're working as a direct care professional, that's how you develop a relationship with the people that you're supporting, is to actually treat them how you would like to be treated. And that's within those relationships as you build them. Even though you are a staff person, the people that you're supporting want to know that they're important to you and you're there because you care. And Dawn also indicated she was supportive, and you could tell she was really honest and that she truly wanted to help her. And she allowed her to talk about her love of poetry. And these are the types of things when you're in a person-centered planning meeting and you're discussing the dreams and the wishes of the person that you're supporting that are so important. That their ideas, their goals are the ones that are front and center, and that you discuss them and what those strengths areas are to achieve them are highlighted to ensure that within the decision-making process and the goals that are written, that it becomes valuable and important to the person that you're supporting. Stephanie also indicated the teacher kept reassuring her that she was great, also to keep believing that she could do it and that she was a great poet. And that's what this is all about. Heck, none of us start out being a good poet, right? We have to learn how to do so. We have to make decisions within that. Maybe even taking a poetry class could be something that, the poetry teacher could support her in doing, like a formal college course. But obviously, if the poetry teacher's already working with her, that's been one of the services that Elena has suggested or actually chosen to do. So I think we're going to move on to the next slide. Everyone, and thank you also for going in the chat. The cool thing is that everyone can see these answers. And every one of them really is addressing the importance of being respectful, honoring the person's wishes, and then supporting them in a positive way so they can achieve their goal. So the next thing we're going to discuss are the 5 principles of self-determination. Freedom, authority, support, responsibility, and confirmation. Within all of these principles, the main thing is our choices that make up who the person are in obtaining self-determination within the process. The first one is freedom. Individual defines what a meaningful life is, and their circle of support can support the person while still promoting their independence. The focus is on the individual and what they determine is important. The individual should always feel free to make their own decisions, while their circle of support provides and offers them tools in order to attain their goals. This is just like what we do almost every day, correct? We're always making decisions about our life, about what things are important to us. This is not specific to people with disabilities. It's everyone within our families, our friends, the people we work with, and the people we have contacts with within the community. One example would be if an individual would like to move out of their parents' home and get their own apartment. The parents and others in the circle of support should collaborate with the individual to discover what resources are needed in order for this to become a reality. This is probably one of the main things huge decisions that a person can make in their lives. And that's even for people without disability, really. Moving, becoming independent, that's a step that is a huge decision. And there's many parts of that decision-making process that could be unknown to the person. The second part is, the second aspect of self-determination is freedom. The second part is authority. As previously discussed, the individual has the right to decide what services are chosen. This remains true regarding the people within their circle of support. The individual has the right to choose who will be involved within their decision-making process as well. An individual has authority over all decisions affecting their service plan. This could be including the activities they do during the week. Perhaps they would like to find a new job. They would have the right to make this decision and seek employment. An individual has authority over their money and how to use it. A lot of times too, what we discuss within these processes is we get a lot of questions about one person's capacity to be able to make these decisions. And we're also going to discuss some of those barriers or some of the things to do with it supporting the person to do so. One of those is supported decision making. And it's very important that people know that within decision making, it's the autonomy of the person that's actually making those decisions for themselves within the process of not only the person-centered plan, but the individual plan of service. The next one is support. I think doing that. The individual decides who helps and how to do something. For example, they can choose to have their mother perform their medication management. So that's one of the areas where support would come into this. And who does that and how they do so. The circle of support, friends, families, neighbors, church, community resources, etc., can assist them as needed. An example may include a person that wants to volunteer for a program such as Meals on Wheels in their community. And a friend drives them to the community center so that they can participate in packing up the meals and to be delivered. A friend is not necessarily a paid support, but that individual may decide that pay the person for the gas to support them. It is also an example of exercising authority over how their money is spent. They are also able to seek aid outside of special services, such as purchasing a service in the community, and also the individual is able to determine who remains within their support system, whether that is family members, friends, or hired service, or the hired service that they are receiving. It's important too that within that circle of support that the person chooses the people that will be there within that decision-making process, and that they are comfortable with all the people that are there within that supported decision-making. We do have somebody, I think, that has an open microphone.
Yeah.
So if you could mute your microphone for now, that would be great. Thank you so much.
And I was wondering, Carolyn, maybe we could ask the group, open this up for a second. Can you all think of maybe an example when an individual with a disability relied on some supports to get to a goal in their person-centered plan, or just to, achieve a dream or a goal in their life? And what was that circle of support that helped them, or how was that support useful to them in achieving that goal? You can just kind of take a minute to think about that. I can use an example from my own son's life to kind of start us off. So he has community programming during the day on Mondays and Tuesdays, and one of the things he really likes to do is he likes to go swimming. He likes to get out in the community now that the weather's better, to get out to the parks. So his goal on his person-centered plan was to increase his community experience time, his opportunity to activities in the community, meeting people, doing things with other people that he enjoys. And so the way he gets there is through his supports, which are his direct care workers. And they understand how he communicates, so they get him ready, they take him out in the community, they take him to the YMCA. He likes to swim, he likes to go in the hot tub, it's good exercise for him. He loves it, he's happy about that, but he couldn't do it without his support. And while he's exercising his self-determination, right, to do something he wants to do, not something someone else chooses for him, he needs the support to get there, to participate fully. So do other folks have some things they'd like to share where support was very useful in attaining self-determination?
Now, Andrea has shared that she knows a consumer that has a vending machine operations at several resource buildings. And that person needed assistance with purchasing products and driving to each resource center weekly. And that's a very good example of how somebody would have their own maybe micro enterprise, which was a vending machine or is a vending machine business. And then two, that person would need assistance with transportation and then also with purchasing those products. And those could be goals as well within the person center plan, developed within the person center plan meeting and in their individual plan of service. If they had chosen a fiscal intermediary to do that, they would then provide the payments to those individuals, providing the mileage, or also to maybe CLS staff or direct support professionals to assist with purchasing those products. I know for our own son, he chose to attend he's an artist and he chose to attend an art studio. And so one of the supports he needed too was transportation to get there. So within his own personal budget, he has to learn to budget those funds that would be taken away from probably something else that he might do. So that's one of the processes, is being fiscally responsible. And within supported decision making, that's a goal that usually too is a life skill that people have to learn to be able to manage their own self-determination budget, in a sense. But it's a good thing because we all need to do that, right? With credit nowadays, it's very hard, right, and tempted to be able to not spend money on things that we might not want. So, and Donna shared that she has a consumer that wanted to take an art class. Support staff provided transportation and remained with the individual while they were there, and assisted them during the class as needed, which is a very good, because art therapy, taking an art class is an excellent example of something that too can be therapeutic. Like somebody had mentioned for Elena, that poetry was therapeutic for her because she's expressing her emotions. And so a lot of these things that people are doing, you saw with Alex, he likes to exercise, but that too can be therapeutic for somebody. I know I exercise because it helps me to relax. It helps me to self-regulate and be able to sleep better at night. So we have some other examples too. Denise shared that too. Again, they have a consumer that has a vending machine operation as well, and also runs a coffee cart in a county complex several times per month. Supports offered assistance with driving, and then also for that person to be able to purchase items as well. Jamie shared that she supports or knows of a person that has a visual impairment and is in high school and did not want to learn Spanish or ASL for their requirement for graduation. Their plan was to learn Braille, and their support was able to set up this class time and work with them to get the programming needed to learn. And that's an excellent example too of a skill that we'll be able to use throughout their life. And that's a thing within every example that you've provided here. The person expands their ability then to be able to learn life skills that were transitioned over into other parts of their life, whether it be financial, whether it be communicating with individuals within the community, purchasing items, doing those transactions. Those are life skills too that are very important and will transition into other aspects of their life. So when you're supporting somebody within self-determination, you're actually helping them to broaden and learn. And each one of us learns something new every day. And that's why it's so important that this is almost not something that people think it's difficult or there's barriers to. Because even for us as individuals, we may have times when the decision-making process isn't as easy. We think about the risks within something or the consequences if we aren't able to do those things or achieve that goal. But as Robert Persky says, there's dignity within risk, right? And even though we may make mistakes, we learn from those. So I'm going to go really quick share one last one. Dawn indicates that her son has a disability and has a girlfriend who has a disability. She has a driver's license, and her grandfather took her to the dealership to lease a vehicle. Her grandfather is legally blind, and the person who's her son's girlfriend is unable to read. So unfortunately, she did not use her support system, and the dealership pretty much scammed her into a deal that was not a deal and took advantage of the situation. Now, I'm glad somebody shared something that actually could be and turn out to be a negative, because she didn't have that natural support that could have helped her within that situation. Leasing a vehicle is a big decision, right? So that's something that too, when you're doing something like that, it's a financial decision. It's something that could affect your entire life, because you're spending a lot of money. So within the supported decision-making process and your natural circle of supports, planning those things ahead of time and actually opening up even your person-centered planning process or your individual plan of service mid-plan is a possibility. This could have been something that could have been supported within that process for her to learn and understand how to work through that type of a situation, and then also what could be done afterward to maybe correct the situation as well. So Dawn, I'm glad that you shared that, because it's very important that we think about these things, because within even our own personal lives, we've all probably made mistakes within decision-making process. And so that's something that we should really learn from and discuss, because there are going to be times that the people we support may end up in a situation that could place them at risk. And actually, that's a good way to transition into the next slide, because the next principle is self-determination is responsibility. The individual has to exercise responsibility within various areas of their life. Deciding on service providers that will suit them, learning how to follow an appropriate budget and make informed choices. The individual is allowed to spend their money as they please, but they should also learn how to spend within their means. Have a circle of support that they trust and assist them with working through these various processes. Using resources wisely, only for needed reasons, and also follow rules and regulations when using public funded services and support. Using your budget resources to purchase authorized services and supports identified in the person-centered planning process to support the individual person-centered plan. So these are some of the things, and Dawn's example was a really good example for that. When somebody were to go to lease a vehicle, that's going to involve money on a monthly basis. Somebody will have to learn to be able to budget properly for that. That's a big expense. That could be, and that's a big decision that somebody would make, and ensuring that you have the proper supports to go through that is very important. The next principle is confirmation. Everyone involved should realize the importance of self-advocacy and be committed to their dreams and goals. Relatives, support staff must agree to uphold the individual's right to self-determination. And basically that's it. We're upholding the decision-making process of the person, and they are putting that final rubber stamp on those decisions. And you're supporting them within their self-advocacy to empower them to do so in this process. So we're going to discuss the person-centered planning process. And this is very important to ensure that a person receives the services and supports that they need within their individual plan of service. This person-centered planning is a roadmap that aims to help an individual achieve their goals. These goals can be changed at any time through request to the person's support coordinator. You don't have to wait 1 year until the next person-centered planning meeting is convened. And as I said, Dawn's example in leasing a vehicle, that actually could be a reason to reconvene a person-centered planning meeting, because it's a very big decision in a person's life. And to learn some steps prior to doing so may be one of the goals that could be changed within a person's individual plan of service. The person-centered planning meeting also empowers the individual to make their own decisions and remain autonomous, as we've already discussed. The focus of the person-centered planning meeting is being able to build on the individual's dreams, gifts, talents, and resources. As we saw within Elena's video, that could be one of the parts that she would discuss within her person-centered planning meeting, is how to become the poet of her dreams. Additionally, supporting the individual to have a meaningful life and focus on what is important to them and what they want. Standards that all people measure their quality of life. For example, feeling safe and secure, loved by family members and friends, have a way to make a living, financial security, access to a quality education experience, good health, and being able to spend time doing activities that the person enjoys and are interested in. And we've already seen two excellent examples of people that are achieving their dreams in a sense. Alex in working and being part of his community, and then Elena with being able to be supported by her poetry teacher. So this is an excellent graphic about person-centered planning, because it actually, and I would say, take a picture of this, right? Take a picture of this
It's not
screen.
easy, I will tell you.
Yeah, because the thing about it is when you think that person served is in a natural circle. That is that circle that's going to support them within their lives. They, though, should have meaningful relationships. They should have the ability to have access to obtain life skills. Their physical health should be considered. Their mental health should be considered. Community access is a very important part of that. And you saw that within Alex's video. He's working. He's involved in a lot of things within his community choir. He's on some sports teams. He's also doing daily activities, and he's achieving his hopes and dreams by being a self-advocate and doing presentations on self-determination themselves. These are the types of things that when you're supporting a person within a person-centered plan meeting, ensure that things that are meaningful to the person are discussed. There should never be a time when a person is in a person-centered planning meeting and doesn't feel good after it, right? Elizabeth, don't you think?
No, I agree.
I mean, our son's person-centered plan meeting is almost like a celebration on an annual basis. We have, everybody's eating, we all come over. It's almost like a party. And it's fun because he's an artist, so he likes to draw. We get a big chalkboard out. He likes to draw about what his next year plans are going to be. So he'll sit there and he'll draw little characters and he'll discuss why he wants to be able to do something, why it's important to him, what his long-term goals are, what life skills he's hoping to achieve within that year, and then two, how that's going to help him to make him feel better and to live his life on a daily basis.
Very much like Jack Pierpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the maps and path process.
It is.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you've ever participated in the MAPS or process, it's really a very cool thing. And if you're a terrible illustrator like me, it's hard to do it. But it's fun because it's actually like, how can I change my stick figure to have you go shopping?
It's great if people have low literacy levels too.
Yeah.
And people can if you have diverse learners, it's a great way to understand things because it's a very visual way rather than writing everything out. Like Carolyn's saying, you can draw pictures. They actually do sell kits where you can cheat and put.
Yeah, you can do like little stickies.
Yeah.
And it's nice though because you can do like it's like almost like a little balloon. Or a thought balloon, so you can put it in there and then people can fill in, what are the things you're going to need to be able to become a poet? Or what are the things you're going to need to be able to get a gym membership? Things like that. So within the person-centered plan, it should include goals that are based on the individual's person's needs and desires. Each person-centered plan will look differently based upon what is important to the individual it is being designed for. And we've already discussed that. It's obvious. It's just like us, what we're doing for our goal achievement. I journal quite often, and it helps me to zero in on what those goals are and if I've achieved them on a daily basis. Because I always try to end the evening with something positive. So it actually helps me to start my day in the morning, because I think about, what did I think about last night? The last thing I thought about was something positive.
And probably helps you sleep better
It
at night
does.
too.
Right?
You're
It
ending
does.
on a positive instead of
Yes, it
sometimes
does.
we ruminate about things that negatively affected us throughout the day.
That's true. One of my son's goals is to journal. And he does that both with words and pictures, which is kind of cool to see. So this graphic also shows examples of aspects that could potentially be included within a person-centered plan. For example, this person may want the goal to improve physical health. So that goal may be that the person would join LA Fitness and exercise at least 2 times per week. And as you saw in Alex's video, he's very active. I think he exercises at least every day. And he has a walking buddy that he does that with as well. So those are just excellent examples of how you can support a person with achieving those goals. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the actual person-centered planning process, and then what you could do during the meeting and then after services have started. So at the pre-person-centered planning meeting, the individual determines who they would like to attend. Typically that's caregivers, family, friends, staff, social supports can also be invited. We actually invited our son's teacher once to his person-centered plan because she was an integral part of his life. And it's very important when you're doing this to think about the people that support your child or the person that you're supporting as a direct support professional within their daily life. If the person's still in school and they're spending 6 hours a day minimally there, that teacher or the people that are supporting them there are very important. And it's nice to have like a different set of eyes within the person-centered planning process too. Throughout the meeting, the individual will work with their team to address their life goals and establish plans to fulfill them. Desired outcomes will be developed in order to help the person identify the needed supports and services. The individual has the right to remove and appoint different service providers at any time throughout the year, but they must make that request to their supports coordinator. It is important to check in with the individual and make any updates and changes to the plan. And that can happen when, let's just say, a person takes a course and then they don't like it. So to maybe continue to fulfill that goal of achieving that task or meeting that dream, you might have to reconvene the PCP to say, what can we do differently to then achieve that ultimate goal? That then may involve changing the individual plan of service to change those supports and services for that goal in general. And that's happened. I mean, it happens often. When you hear the myth that an annual plan is an annual plan and it can't be changed. And that is not the case. You can reconvene and change that as, it should be actually kind of a static document in the essence of it can be changed, right?
Right, and you can change it, you just have to notify your supports coordinator and they can reconvene the meeting and you can change goals or amend them as needed.
Yeah, and the sports coordinators too. I mean, our son has an excellent sports coordinator. She asks him monthly. They actually go, how is things going? They discuss how his plan of service is being delivered. Because if you're only meeting with somebody on a monthly basis, it's important to ensure that they know that the work that they did helped to actually ensure that that person's meeting those goals and obtaining those services, because it's not an easy job.
No,
It's very difficult in the essence of ensuring you have so many people you're trying to help and support. And that's why direct support professional staff is very important as well, to help even if that person may not be able to communicate that. within that need set say, you know, this person might be struggling with something or have some challenges. How can we better support that person? Maybe with an additional support. If the person's taking the bus and it's not working out, how can we get a better transportation method for that person to go where they need to go? So we're going to watch this next video, which is about the voices of self-determination. And we're going to see how other individuals utilize self-determination within this clip.
My definition of that is being able not only to be independent, but to be able to make the decisions necessary to live the life to the fullest of my choosing.
To be able to make your own choices and stand up for your own rights. Sometimes, as a person with a developmental disability, people want to make a lot of your decisions for you if you're not careful. You know, I'm a very independent spirit, so I don't really let people make decisions for me.
Self-determination is where a person's able to self-determine their own life and make choices and be independent and being able to hire or fire their own staff and can be able to do more things without having to be relying on others. I'm one of those examples. I tried to do a lot of my independent stuff by myself without too much dependency. But there are times that I do need help, like when I need to get better nutrition or better choices in life. The other thing I could say about self-determination is that people get to speak up for their rights, and they'll be able to speak up to anybody politically or just in the state.
Being supportive of yourself and be able to stand up for what you believe in.
I like to say it both ways, my team and me, but the big focus is the person that it's about you. So the big part of self-determination is the self part, and the self part is you. The concentration is you, because the team is looking at you as the spotlight, as the example of who you are, and continuing to stay healthy, the way, not just how they want it, but how you want it. And if you want to be that example and be in the spotlight, we got to show and act like it and know who we are and that we can do it. If I can do it, you can do it too. The team is looking at.
So what we usually ask right now is which participant in the video stood out to you most and why? Which person do you think explained self-determination the best to you or experiencing that? and not really the best, but for them expressed that. I usually thought everybody did a great job. But
I've
like,
seen it a couple times, but it is very good. Every time I see it, I'm impressed.
and I think the last person, the girl, when she says it's about self, it's about you, and why it's so important. The main focus be, and Tori, you just said that as well within your comment, and she does stand out. I think the last person does. I thought the first gentleman too really explained it, how important it was to him, and then the second young man saying that I want to make sure I'm the one that's making this decision, because he said a lot of people try to make decisions for him, which happen a lot within the intellectual and developmental disability community. People are afraid that the person might make a mistake within a decision-making process, and they just go ahead and make the decision. But as you saw within this video, each person expressed the need for them to be able to do so, and it was very important to them, and how important that was emotionally to them. You could tell even within the way they were talking about it. It's a really nice video. And it was nice, and somebody, Andrew, you indicated all of them did based on their own personal goals and life experience. And then Stephanie, you said Mia stood out the best to me. She understood she needed a team, and also needed to have her or be remembered that she had to be the main part to be successful. And that's why and I love this video because it is, and that's what it's about. And you know when you're participating in the person-centered planning process, when that person's honored, when that person's making those choices, how important it is to them. So let's go back here.
And I liked, it was Nia that said, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, which is great. Because she's saying, she's a successful example of that, right? Here we go, okay. I'm the most inept technical person, so you guys are being good and very accommodating to me today. Thank you very much. So the purpose of self-determination, as described in the video, there are numerous purposes and applications of self-determination. Self-determination empowers individuals to live a meaningful life. And you could see the emotion when the people were discussing it for themselves and their personal experiences within that video. Self-determination supports individuals to direct their life using services and supports. And while the circle of supports enables the continuation of decision-making, authority for that individual. With help from people chosen by the person, who care about the person and are important to that individual, these goals can be achieved, and a better quality of life also is attainable. Using services and supports to assist the person to participate in and contribute to the community is so important within the purpose of self-determination. Some of the challenges to self-determination can be the following. Guardianship limits a person's freedom to make decisions. It transfers the individual's rights of autonomy to the appointed guardian or entity. And the goal of an so I wanted to just discuss that a little bit here. We recently did some National Court Indicator Surveys interviews within Michigan, and some of Michigan data shows that the majority of people receiving services actually have a guardian. So that's one of the things. Only 2 people out of 10 in the state of Michigan from our last data collection had self-determined lives. So we have a higher percentage of guardianship within Michigan. And I think that that's something that should be considered and talked about, and how that may present some challenges for a person obtaining a self-determined life. Because actually the goal of the appointed guardian should be to actually ensure and provide support for autonomy, equality, and quality of life achievement for that person that they're supporting. And also to make decisions in the best interest of the individual and not for themselves, and providing that service as a guardian. One of the other challenges to self-determination could be a power of attorney or a POA. The power of attorneys are intended to give a certain amount of power as determined by the individual. In order to enact a power of attorney, the individual will have to sign paperwork assuring that they are not being forced to make this decision. A power of attorney can overturn decision-making processes as well. It becomes more difficult if the person's physical or mental health is also worsened during that decision-making process. The individual can decide the amount of power that their power of attorney will have. They can grant their power of attorney the power to deal with only certain tasks, such as a specific power of attorney, or they can choose for their power of attorney to handle all matters, which would then be a general power of attorney. And that could include things such as financial, medical decisions, etc. Regardless of the determination, the power of attorney will be responsible for keeping records in relation to their actions, which would include things like receipts, documents, copies of financial statements, things like that. The power of attorney is responsible for acting in good faith for the individual, and the power of attorney may prevent the individual from being involved in things that could be risky for them or could endanger their actual self-determination services, correct? They are supposed to act within the best interest of the individual and also ensure that there's not a conflict of interest within those arrangements. It is something that's an alternative to guardianship, and a lot of times within those power of attorney agreements, it can be written about the person's ability to be able to make those decisions and actually have that person as a power of attorney representing them. A lot of times, guardianship is seen as representative of a person's level of ability. And we really shouldn't be utilizing it in that sense, or for other people outside of the person that knows that individual. A lot of times it's considered to be, it shows a level of ability to make decisions.
Guardianship, you have to go through court process where there are psychiatry reports or psychologist reports, IQ testing done, physicians sign in. It is possible to revoke guardianship, but it takes a very long time, and again, you have to go back to court. So power of attorney is sort of the least, I think, confining of that, because you could do power of attorney over just medical if someone doesn't understand medical terminology and able to understand medications and things like that. So there's someone there who has the best interest of that individual that can read that and help them make an informed decision on medical if you decide to do just power of attorney on medical. You don't need to go to court. It's a form you fill out. You have it notarized. Then it's least restrictive. And then I think the next thing we're going to talk about is supported decision making, which is the better alternative.
Yes, and that's and a lot of times too within the power of attorney process, it is questioned because people don't know about it. Right. They think of it as a durable power of attorney. There's for somebody that's needs it for medical or things like that. So a lot of times it can be a challenge for a person obtaining self-determination, because oftentimes, like, our son's power of attorney is 35 pages. But what we have is a one-page cover sheet. So if we go to the bank, or if we go, he said, he was at college and they were questioning FERPA decisions, and we said, well, we have power of attorney, and a lot of times people don't know the extent of what that is. It's been explained to me though that there's really not a difference between the two. One isn't shouldn't be more restrictive. So each should involve the desires of the individual at the end within those. So that's why it's important to understand what each is and how it would best benefit the person. So we're going to move on to supported decision making. And this is something that has been developed probably in the last decade, I think. It involves a Supreme Court decision for a young lady initially that was seeking to have a more decision-making process within her life. And it's something that is defined within the process as it assists those who need help in making decisions to maintain their dignity and promote their autonomy. The support system is comprised of individuals who aim to have the individual maintain their independence. So a lot of times it prevents, obviously, the need for guardianship. It promotes, as we've said, autonomy. And this could be, anyone. A lot of times the supported decision-making person initially is a parent or a care provider that has been supporting that person. But it can be anyone, really. It can be that the person chooses. It can be a friend. It can be a sibling. It can be a professional person. It can actually be a direct support professional in a sense, because sometimes it's not really, there's no parameters in a sense of who that person is. But a lot of times, the individual may ask more than one person too. And I think that this graphic is a very important graphic because it reminds us that everyone as individuals are making decisions on a daily basis. We may need more support in those areas. Let's just think about your medical decisions. You talk to your doctor, you talk to your family members, you may seek a second opinion about that one decision within medical. The same thing within financial. When Donna had discussed the young lady who is going to be leasing a car, that involves a lot of decision-making process as well. So we want to make sure that within that, people understand that this is something that provides that person's autonomy and also empowers them, just as it would you and I within our daily decision-making. We are going to do an exercise, but I also want to bring up, Elizabeth has brought up the National Resource Center for Decision Making. Their website is very informative. It has some stories on it of individuals who actually had gone through the system within the legal system to do so. You can visit this website, and it's supportdecisionmaking.org. And it provides a lot of information about the process and what's happening within states to promote supported decision-making.
And I do believe it's in the reference section as well of the modules.
I think it is in the reference section too.
But it is an excellent website, and it does tell us, Carolyn mentioned there was a story, it was a Supreme Court decision, and that young lady's story is on there as well. So
I think her name is Jenny Henn. And she lived in Virginia, and it's a very interesting story. And I would encourage you to visit the website because it's not only Jenny's story. There's a lot of different stories because a lot of these are different in many ways. And the reasons for the people wanting to seek supported decision making and
Jenny Hatch,
Jenny. Some of the reasons are they want to. Not have a guardian anymore. And as Elizabeth has explained, it's very difficult to go through that process and obtain it as an individual once you have an appointed guardian. So the next thing that we're going to do is an exercise. And I'm going to read it off real quick. And we'll do the stop share. But this is an activity that we would do within the classroom setting. I'm going to read it off really quickly, and then we're going to ask you some steps in helping that person to transition using supported decision making. So Sam has been living with her parents for the past 25 years. She is going to be 26 this year. She feels as though this is the year she should spread her wings and move out. Her parents have never mentioned the possibility of her moving out. So Sam is nervous to bring it up. Sam informs her parents of what she would like to do a few days before her birthday, before she's going to turn 26. Her parents agree that she is older now and some space may benefit her. So what we'd like to do is we want you to think about within this scenario, how you would use supported decision-making to assist Sam within what she would need to do regarding the possibility of moving out. Because this is a huge life decision, right, Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I mean,
Having
we've
just gone through it,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
A year ago, so.
Yeah, so our son has been, through this back and forth, going him and hawing. He had at one point wanted to go away to college, but and go and live in the dorm. And so these are the kind of things, even our older son who doesn't have a disability, him moving out, being able to afford a rent or a mortgage, it involves a lot of different things. So what would you think, what are some of the first steps that you would consider that Sam would need to do, and then her parents support her within that supported decision-making? If you want to type those in the chat, we'll have a quick discussion here about that. Amy said, I think the first thing we would do would be to gather more facts. And that's really good, because we don't know, too, what her ability set is, or, what she would need to be able to be supported within the community. Tori asks, or says that, ask her if she wants to live in a new living space. I would consider explaining the budget as well. And Jamie, also, you would make a list about pros and cons, which would be good. And Donna indicates you would gather the facts about those, right? You have to make a list of pros and cons. What would be the negatives? What would be the positive? Clifton, you said set some goals, leading her to the ultimate goal. It could be something as simple as spending a night in a hotel room. And that's an excellent example, because that could be achieved very easily and inexpensively, right? And then the person would be able to maybe, talk about what they experienced being alone, having to be responsible even for just that one night, right?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea. Ask the 4 WH or W questions, right? Who, what, when, and where. And Andrea, that's an excellent example, because it's going to take a lot. This is a huge decision. And then, Dawn, you suggest find out what type of living space that Sam would want, like an apartment, home, condo, etc. And would she want a roommate too? Because that too, does she have a natural circle of supportive friends that also would be at that stage of being able to move out, or maybe even seek an apartment of a person that needs a roommate already, and everything's already set up. Denise, you've indicated to ask where she would like to live. Does she want to live alone? Look at the budget, finances, what she was able to do and afford, and make a list of positives and negatives. And that would be too, you could visit apartments, look into financially what she would be able to afford with her current budget, and if she's getting, Social Security, things like that. That's another thing that could change. If she's only getting a certain amount of Social Security, if she's going to then have to pay rent and she had not been doing so, that would be something that would need to be changed, because she could go back and reapply for a greater amount if she's going to be paying rent or buying, if there's going to be an investment into a condo or something like that. And then too, what kind of supports would Sam need if she's living on her own? And that too, this would be something too that if you're not in your cycle of your annual person-centered plan, this would be a decision that you would reconvene your person-centered plan for, because then you could change your individual plan of service, even incrementally, to do some initial planning before that she would be then moving into the community. Another thing that we had thought about, and that I've supported some other individuals on, is you have to think about transportation. So if the person is working, where would that geographic location be? Would they need transportation to get there? Could they be able to utilize a bus versus, paying for an Uber? Those are the types of things that within the person's budget too that they would have to plan for. Then buying things, right? You have to furnish the apartment. You have to be able to get supports to be able to go shopping in the community if you needed to do those things.
And oftentimes food stamps become reduced at that point, down to like $100 a month. So there's that challenge of, diminish some supports that you receive, you get cuts in funding on. That's one of them, right? So food stamps can actually go down in the value amount that you receive per month. So that presents a challenge. And roommates is another big issue, like finding the right roommates. I think the parents I talk to and people with disabilities I talk to, that's the greatest challenge. If you're gonna do roommates, is finding compatible roommates. And you need to spend a lot of time on that. They need to spend time together, see if it's gonna work.
So I don't know if I'd that's the thing, you have to think, moving in with a stranger would be so scary.
Yeah, it's really, it's daunting. So you really wanna make sure people are compatible. That is the number one reason. I don't have the research on it, it's all anecdotal work, but that is the number one complaint I hear from everyone, is that they have roommate issues. And that is the number one reason that people they're not successful in the move to dependences. They have roommates, there's incompatibility, someone wants to move out. So I think it's really key to spending a lot of time on that so that you can kind of avoid that issue afterwards.
And that's another thing too, like Stephanie suggests, looking into what services are available in the area where she's gonna be able to live, like CLS, being able to hire direct support professionals in an area if she moves away from where she currently is getting those services. Another thing too is the type of living arrangements that are already successful for other people. We're very lucky here to have the Community Housing Network as a resource. They have support meetings that people go to also to seek, or actual meetings that people go to meet other people looking for roommates, things like that.
I'll be honest with you, Carolyn, I never found those groups.
Okay.
A lot of those are shut down. So if anybody out there knows of bulletin boards or things like that, like the ARC, I know at one point did it, but when I actually did the research from Robert, I could not find those bulletin boards where people exchange information.
Yeah, this was actually a physical meeting. The Community Housing Network was having a physical meeting.
Was it recent?
That was about, last one was, it wasn't that.
I might have hit
in the last
them.
year.
And again, always check your resources and things like that, because perhaps when we were looking a year ago, it wasn't available, but it could be now that it is. But I know that was elusive when I was doing my research 18 months ago, but I'm glad to hear it's picked up.
And I think it goes back to what Elizabeth said. These are some of the challenges that you have to put within that pros and cons list of what's going to be successful for that person. Then that individual, Sam's ability to be, to have a relationship with another person, or to be able to be more dependent on people within the community. She might not be used to doing that. She, a lot of times too, that's why that hotel room idea is a really good idea. And I'll give you an example really quick. So we wanted to know what our son's skill set was for an emergency, because he was thinking about moving out and getting an apartment, moving in with a roommate. So we were actually on a trip, and he was in his own hotel room with his brother. So the fire alarm went off in the hotel. And you know how you practice those all the time. They practice fire alarms and drills in school. You practice them at home. We had never practiced it out in the community in a hotel room setting. So the alarm was deafening. We were on, and he has autism, we're on the very end, and it's right where the alarm is. And we're standing there. My husband and I look down, the fire trucks are there, so we're thinking, we're not seeing any activity, so it's kind of safe. So we're waiting, and nobody's coming out of the room. And we're waiting and waiting, nobody's coming out of the room. So, go over and knock on the door, and we had a key to get in, because, you never know. Thank God we had a key. And our son was sitting on the couch just with his hands over his ears. And our other son was in the bed sleeping. He's such a solid sleeper, right? So that woke us up in the sense of he didn't even know to go over to wake his brother up. He couldn't do it because he was so sensory overloaded by the sound. And they probably would have been crispy critters if they were in the, you have to really think about these things. And when you acquire a skill set and you think it would transition, you don't know until it actually happens, right? So even that's kind of maybe an extreme example,
But it's a great
but it's a good example to show that, even that one hotel night could be an interesting thing to do. Have the person order room service, pay for it, have something, call the person while they're there. They have to answer that phone, a phone they've never answered before. Ask them, is there a store downstairs? Would you be able to go downstairs and buy something from that store? Because you would have to do that if you were in your own apartment, perhaps, or get a support from somebody else to actually help you with your shopping within the community if that was something that you'd be doing. So there's a lot of different examples and scenarios that we could come up with, and I think you guys have really addressed a lot of those. The first thing that you're going to do, obviously, is going to do the pros and cons list, and then think about if there's some skill sets that the person would need to acquire prior to moving out, then those could be included as goals within the individual plan of service. And then that would give the person more confidence too, with it being able to achieve that goal of being able to move out. Can you think of anything else, Elizabeth, within that?
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we'll give folks at the end, Carolyn will be able to address any questions you have. We've allowed a few minutes at the end as well.
So the next thing we're going to discuss is recipient rights. This mental health code details the rights of those who are receiving mental health services in the state of Michigan. This PDF is actually Chapter 7 of the Michigan Mental Health Code, and it's an excerpt explaining the mental health code in Michigan. The individuals also have a right, and these are some of the things that are rights of an individual within their own recipient rights. Consent and to decline treatment, receive information about diagnosis, treatments, etc., which could include physical copies and pamphlet sheets and more information about the types of treatments and interventions they'd be doing, choosing their own practitioners, getting a second opinion, having these rights read to them. That's a very simple example, and a lot of times people aren't familiar with what their recipient rights are. Appropriate and safe environment for receiving services. Re-examination within 24 hours after admission within for psychiatric services. Family involvement within the decision-making process. A written plan of services that they agree with, which is very important. Important information regarding current status and progress within their individual plan of service and goals. And we encourage all individuals and their family receiving mental health services through community mental health to actually visit the Michigan Department website and get a copy of this PDF, because it's very important within the process. Person-centered planning should include some type of discussion regarding the person's rights and what those are. Generally, direct support professionals are required to participate within recipient rights training, and they are mandated reporters. So it's very important that it's understood that rights are upheld and are not violated, especially within this decision-making process and people obtaining a path to self-determination. And I think probably every one of us could think of some situation within where a person's rights have been violated. Does it fall into the category where you would actually file a recipient rights complaint? It's important to consider that. And that's why I think it's also important that people attend the recipient rights training to ensure that you understand exactly what those are as well. So the future of self-determination, we must continue to educate ourselves about self-determination and its benefits. We need to continually advocate for statewide and national changes in not only the philosophy of self-determination, but service delivery and management. Additionally, we must serve as a resource to those in government in order for them to better understand what self-determination means to both individuals with disability and to us within what our economy is currently hoping to achieve. And then 2, each one of you today has increased that awareness of what self-determination is by participating within this training, and we want to make sure that we keep this dialogue open and continuing. So I want to thank you all. We also have some references available to you as participants, and those will be sent out following this training. A lot of the things that we discussed within that are included within the references. What self-determination and why it's important. That's the video that you also saw. And the video links for the videos we showed are within the resources as well. So I'm going to open it up to see if anyone has any questions. And thank you also for attending today, because this is something that within the deliverable of services within the state of Michigan, we want to ensure is very important. There's other efforts on educating individuals within our community mental health system on this, and then 2 for direct supports professionals. So does anyone have any questions? And thank you everybody for expressing appreciation. We really are glad people were here today. I'm sorry about the original glitches and the time frame and when it would be. Elaine asked when we'll be able to get a copy of this presentation for our references. And you, Elizabeth had indicated we were going to receive an email afterwards from this, and we should be able to provide you the presentation then, or at least think the references from the presentation. And does anyone have any questions specific to self-determination or how a person can achieve self-determination within their person-centered planning process and their individual plan of service, if they currently aren't getting that support as a service within their community mental health deliverable? Anybody have any questions? Or thanks everybody too. Thank you too for your time today, and we appreciate you attending. You will all get emails regarding an after survey, I believe. Please fill that out if you have time to do so. We would appreciate it. And we want to make sure these webinars are beneficial to everyone that attends. And we appreciate your time today. Does anybody have any questions? Come on, one question. Elizabeth, did you want to? We have some people that are asking for the presentation.
Oh.
A copy of the presentation.
Yes. What we will do is we will post the PowerPoints, and what we will also do is we just actually decided this morning. So Carolyn's presentation has been recorded. We will post it on the website for 30 days. No one who views it as a recording will be able to receive the continuing education credits. You won't have to do the pre and the post assessment, okay? However, and so we won't really track who actually viewed it after today, but you're welcome to go online or share it, and they'll be able to access the PowerPoint presentation and listen to Carolyn's presentation there. Michael will archive it. As far as the PowerPoints go, you should have received it. You didn't receive a copy of the PowerPoints before the webinar? Is that what folks are saying? Because I'll write this down.
Tori said that no, they didn't get it.
All right, so I'm going to make myself a note.
Okay.
That we will send everyone who registered a copy of the PowerPoints. Thank you for letting us know that, though.
Yeah, because usually we send it out because a lot of times we have a pre-test.
We usually do.
And then you take the pre-test and then a post-test. With this one webinar, we didn't do that. So that's probably why you didn't get the PowerPoint in advance.
Okay, and I will say this, it may have been my decision not to send the PowerPoint out because this has been a revised manual. Courtney Murky revised this manual. It was originally written by gray. We updated it and changed all the literature, added activities to it. And so it actually is just going to the print shop today. So I did final edits to it. The version Carolyn did is actually not the last version of it. So I made a few changes. I caught a few things yesterday. And so that could be why I didn't post the PowerPoint. So as soon as it's in its final version, this was a final draft, but as soon as we get the final printed version out, we'll be able to post the PowerPoints to you. I'm just making myself a note so we do this next week.
Okay, so we do have that, the people that registered, you did get the pre-test.
Okay.
So then you will get a post-test, because then you'll be able to utilize it for the CE. Or, you know,
You'll
what
get a
was- yeah,
post-test for
you'll get the
sure.
post-test.
Mia's coming in today. She's our student assistant. So she'll get that all out to you today so you can get your CEUs. And she'll send you a certificate as well.
Yeah, you will get an e-certificate for attendance that you'll be able to utilize too.
Any other ones for me?
The post-test will be emailed to you.
Yeah.
That's the way you're going to be able to get your certificate, correct?
Yeah.
You have to fill out the post-test to be able to get the certificate.
Yes. Yeah, it's always been the rule.
Mhm.
So, like I said, this afternoon, our student assistant will be in on the project, and she will make sure that you all get the post-test.
Now, there is a question, do we have to take the post-test within a certain time frame?
24 hours.
Yeah, that's a good question, Tori. You have to do so within 24 hours. So, Liz, do you think that they'll be getting the presentation prior to having to take the post-test?
No, I don't think so. Because like I said, it's going to the print shop right now, and I don't want to release that version of it that Carolyn's working off of, because sometimes people take things and then they pass it on, and then that won't be the last official version. So I will tell you what, let's not make the post-test due in 24 hours. Let's give you guys, say, 5 days to do the post-test. Okay, so
Yeah.
today is Thursday. If I get them back by next Wednesday, that would be great. And I can post the PowerPoint Monday. So you'll have a few days to look back at the PowerPoint video.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Does that sound good with
So I'm
everyone?
making myself a note right now. All right. So we're gonna give you.
Then if
a
you want
week.
to, yeah, then if you want to review the PowerPoint, you can do that prior to taking the post-test.
1 week
Or actually just, yeah,
to do the post-test.
go to the post-test. Shoot.
So I'll give you a week. We won't force it because you guys don't have the PowerPoint. So we'll get the PowerPoint to you Monday. I'm just writing it all down so I don't look it down. Any other ones for me or Carolyn?
Okay, I think we have that. Anybody else have any questions? Once again, I would urge you to visit the Developmental Disabilities Institute's at Wayne State, their website. It's an excellent website for resources. And as I said, the Possibilities series videos are really good videos. There's a whole bunch of different things in there to utilize with people that you support. There's one about young men doing a micro enterprise in Traverse City that's really cool. There's just so many of them, and they really dispel a lot of myths within what people think of individuals with disability and within seeking independence or within seeking community access. I really love them. I use them a lot with a lot of different people. Especially I use them with other parents because the parents have so many fears about what can transpire. And when they watch those videos, they're like, oh my gosh, my child can do that. If she can do that. And in Alex's video is a good example of that. It's a really good example. I mean, he's just flourished within the community. He gets some really good support, not only from his family, but the community members. That gentleman that was speaking in the video was an excellent example of a natural support. And I think it was his employer. I think so, and he's just a great guy, so he's very lucky to have that support. So thank you, everybody. If you don't have any further questions, Elizabeth, did you have anything?
No, I don't. I will say about Possibilities, it shows people throughout the lifespan. So the youngest is actually my great niece, Emily, who is included in her kindergarten all the way to an individual that is in her 50s and working in her sister's doctor's office, correct? So I like it because they're men, women, but they're throughout the lifespan, showing how they're living high quality lives.
With differing levels of support.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's great. They're great. I love them.
Well, thank you, everybody. Greatly appreciate it, Carolyn. You do an excellent job. And we will get the PowerPoints. You do a great job. We'll get it's not easy. This is a new module. And like I said, PowerPoint's out to you Monday. And then we will get the post-test back by next Thursday. Okay? So that'll give you some days to work on it. Thank you for your attention. We greatly appreciate it. Spread the word about empowerment education. We appreciate it. It's free training to your direct care staff, individuals with disabilities, and their family members.
Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
day.
Have a great weekend.